Under the blood-hued glow of Xortha's dying star, the assembled war council of the Khor'thaal Empire sat in absolute silence, their elongated forms rigid with disbelief. The chamber, carved from obsidian and reinforced with living alloys, had witnessed countless declarations of conquest, oaths of extermination, and coronations of predator kings. But never before had it seen a predator kneel, let alone bow, to pray. And yet, the impossible had happened. The strongest predator of their galaxy, the apex of engineered evolution, had bent the knee to a human. They called him Rael Vorin, a name that now echoed like a curse through every transmission, from the smog-choked worlds of the outer rims to the throne moons of the core. High Chancellor Karun clicked his mandibles in irritation, his slit-pupiled eyes narrowing as the hollow footage replayed for the 20th time. There, on the ravaged plains of Epsilon Prime, stood the towering silhouette of Jarek, the Khor'thaal's undisputed war champion, born from a lineage of gene-forged killers. His obsidian scales gleamed under the twin suns, his quad arms bristling with retractable talons capable of shredding battleships. His maw, lined with serrated fangs, had tasted the flesh of 100 conquered species. And yet, before the slight, unimpressive figure of a human male, Jarek had dropped to one knee, bowed his reptilian head, and uttered words that shook the foundations of galactic power. "We are not worthy." The council erupted in low growls, armored tails lashing against the floor. Generals, warlords, and high priests alike demanded answers. The footage defied logic. Humans were death-worlders, true, but fragile compared to the Khor'thaal. Their muscles tore under pressures that the Khor'thaal called recreational. Their bones cracked where Khor'thaal barely bruised. Their ships were primitive, their colonies scattered. And yet, in the span of 3 solar cycles, the humans had reversed what the Khor'thaal took millennia to build. Their fleets vanished. Their planets burned. Their champions fell. It began, as most tragedies do, with arrogance. The Khor'thaal first encountered humanity during the subjugation of the Helix Nebula, a human colony, small, isolated, barely self-sustaining, resisted annexation. It wasn't a war. It was a slaughter. The Khor'thaal's orbital bombardments reduced the colony to ash within hours. The surviving humans were caged, dissected, and displayed as trophies. Their screams were recorded and broadcast as entertainment. To the Khor'thaal, it was routine. To humanity, it was declaration. No formal retaliation came immediately. Instead, the humans vanished. Their signals ceased. Their colonies went dark. Their fleets retreated. The galaxy believed they had been broken. But humans don't break. They adapt. They observe. And then they strike. The first sign came at the siege of Kareth. A Khor'thaal fortress world, thought impregnable, suffered cascading system failures. Defense grids malfunctioned. Atmospheric processors vented toxins. The garrisons choked and died before the enemy even set foot on the surface. Surveillance captured flickers of shadows, ghosts in human form. By the time reinforcements arrived, the planet's command structure was gone, and etched in the remains of the central citadel were 4 haunting words. "We remember Helix, 7. The Khor'thaal dismissed it as guerrilla tactics, but the attacks escalated. Worlds fell, not through brute force, but sabotage, infiltration, psychological warfare. Infrastructure collapsed overnight. Supply lines vanished. Entire fleets ghosted. Their crews found days later, alive, but maddened, whispering of human shadows in the dark. And then came Rael Vorin. Intelligence files, compiled hastily in the wake of his rise, painted an incomplete picture. Former officer, survivor of Helix, 7. His family, slaughtered in the bombardment, presumed dead. He resurfaced years later, not as a soldier, but as the architect of humanity's vengeance, the Phantom King. They called him master of asymmetric warfare, The man who taught humanity that in a galaxy ruled by monsters, you don't win by playing fair. You win by making the monsters afraid. And afraid they were. Entire Khor'thaal war clans refused deployment to human-occupied sectors. Some mutinied outright, citing nightmares, hallucinations, and unexplained disappearances. But the high predators of the Khor'thaal laughed. Fear was for lesser species. They had Jarek, the apex champion. Jarek, who wrestled void beasts in the storm belts of Arxen. Jarek, whose mere presence cowed predator kings of rival empires. It was Jarek who would break humanity's spirit by claiming Voron's head. Epsilon Prime was chosen as the battleground, a human stronghold, heavily fortified, but isolated, the perfect trap. The Khor'thaal expected defiance. They expected casualties. What they didn't expect was silence. As their armada descended, they found the human settlements abandoned. Cities stood empty, their defense grids offline. No resistance, no troops, only quiet. The Khor'thaal flooded the planet, confident, hungry for conquest. And then the dead began to rise. Not literal corpses, but something worse. Human constructs, biomechanical specters laced with viral AIs. They infected Khor'thaal systems, turned their technology against them. Drones rebelled. Weapons detonated in their masters' hands. Communications twisted into maddening loops. The Khor'thaals might crumble not by force, but by manipulation. Amid the chaos, Voron emerged, clad in adaptive armor, faceless, unarmed, yet unstoppable. He moved through the battlefield untouched, not because of superior strength, but because the Khor'thaal were paralyzed by terror. Their weapons refused to fire. Their instincts screamed retreat. And then Jarek found him. Alone, vulnerable, human. The apex predator charged, talons bared, jaws wide. Only to halt mid-stride, his body betraying him. His muscles locked, his vision blurred. His heart, engineered to endure the vacuum of space, race erratically. Embedded nanoviruses. Biohacks tailored to exploit his genome. Every weakness cataloged, every vulnerability weaponized. Voron had studied them. He understood their biology better than they did themselves. And in that moment, the strongest predator realized he had never been the hunter. Voron had lured him here, planned every step, and left him alive not out of mercy, but as a message. Jarek broken, humbled, bowed before humanity's avatar. We are not worthy. The footage ended. Khor'thaal exhaled, mandibles clacking. Explain how this prey dismantled an empire. The Council's lead strategist, Khor'thaal, hissed, adjusting his neural implants. Humans are not prey, he admitted reluctantly. They are adaptive apexes, a paradox. Physically inferior, yet cognitively unshackled. He brought up neural analysis charts. Their strength lies not in raw power, but in refusal. They refuse extinction, refuse defeat. They weaponize weakness, ours and their own. A low growl rippled through the room. Khor'thal's claws flexed. So they poison, sabotage, manipulate. Cowards' tactics. Khor'thaal shook his head. Survivors' tactics. Another counselor, High Admiral Trescon, snorted. Then we retaliate properly. Glass their worlds. Burn soul. Khor'thal's eyes darkened. We tried. Our fleets never reached soul. They disappeared. The room stiffened. How? Khor'thaal demanded. Khor'thaal hesitated, then displayed classified data. The human fleets you see? Decoys. Their true strength lies hidden. Mobile installations. Cloaked shipyards. They predicted our strategies. They sabotaged them before we launched. Trescon bared fangs. Impossible. I thought so, too, Khor'thaal admitted, until Jarek bowed. Silence reclaimed the chamber. Pride warred with fear. The Khor'thaal, for all their savagery, respected strength, and Vorin had demonstrated it, not with muscle, but with intellect, with patience, with calculated vengeance. Khor'thaal straightened. Then we adapt. If humans wage war through shadows, we hunt them in the light. If they refuse our dominion, we shatter theirs. Vostale's expression turned grim. That is their strategy. Force us into reaction. Exhaust us. Make us waste resources chasing ghosts. The counselor's mandibles twitched in frustration, and we fall for it. Again and again. The chamber's lights dimmed as a final transmission played. Vorin himself, addressing the galaxy. His face, angular and scarred, filled the screen. His voice, cold and measured, sliced through the static. You called us weak. You called us prey. You burned our worlds. But you made one mistake. His eyes locked onto the viewer, unblinking. You taught us what fear feels like. And now we return the favor. The screen cut to black. No threats. No ultimatums. Just inevitable promise. Khor'thaal's claws clenched, fracturing the console. Fear, a foreign, unfamiliar sensation, coiled in his chest. For the first time in millennia, the apex predators of the galaxy understood the truth. Strength wasn't muscle. It wasn't fangs or claws. It wasn't technology or fleets. True strength was refusal. The refusal to die. The refusal to submit. The refusal to forgive. And no species embodied that more dangerously than humanity.